Mexico has introduced the country's first non-binary passport, allowing its citizens the ability to legally identify as their authentic selves. Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard announced that Mexico had issued its initial passport with a non-binary gender marker, hailing it as a significant stride for freedom of expression. On the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia, activist Oshel Baina received their passport during a ceremony attended by government officials, including transgender federal lawmaker Salma Luevano. This move underscores the Mexican government's support for sexual diversity and the guarantee of rights for all identities. Under the new policy, non-binary and gender non-conforming Mexican citizens have the option to replace the gender category with an X rather than being limited to male or female. Applicants can also choose to omit specifying their gender when applying for new passports. Mexico is one of 16 countries, along with others such as Spain, that recognize the X marker on official documents. However, some countries, including France, Italy, and the UK, still do not permit the use of X markers on passports. The UK government in particular has faced criticism for its stance on non-binary passports, as it has declined to update its policy despite public petitions, citing complex practical consequences as the reason for not introducing a third or non-binary gender.
Well, the non-binary shit kills me because first of all, I hate pink news. Pink news is absolute cancer. Many people came across me because of my debate with Jessica Yaniv in 2019, and the media, the way in which LGBT media covered that whole debacle, which if you don't know, Jessica Yaniv is a notorious out of Canada purporting to be trans, so that's the long and short of it. Pink news sided with that over me in that issue. Right? They wrote an article attacking me and defending Jessica Yaniv. So if you want to talk about priorities,
Whack.
where's that? The second thing is the non-binary shit kills me for the simple fact that people who are pro non-binary or believe non-binary is valid, all that, you can believe that, but the insistence that that is to be conflated with trans or falls under some sort of definition of also trans within the trans umbrella is really disgusting and insulting because first of all, being a transsexual reinforces the binary. You're going from one to the other. So that's diametrically opposed in and of itself to be non-binary. These same people they have enough of a nuanced understanding, right, of gender and sex to adhere to the idea that there are thousands of sexualities, thousands of genders, each one of them distinct enough to have a different word. But non-binary has to be within the word trans. It's like, again, these activists squash real acceptance at every turn because how the in the world begin to understand transsexuals when it's getting muddied by the concept of non-binary, right? Like I'll oftentimes get cringy, usually younger, conservative like types coming on my Twitter and being like, to me, and like I mentioned, like, hey dude, there's only two genders. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was one of the people who like made that quote like pop back in the day. I have a video called there's only two genders with like millions of views. So what are you, yeah, I believe in two genders. I went from one to the other. So that just goes to show that all this other shit, the non-binary, the gender fluid, has confused the shit out of people that they can't even properly attack a transsexual anymore. They think that we really believe there's like more than two genders.
No, it is conflating it with the non-binary thing to me. Again, I do believe people should live however they want, but it doesn't, it's philosophically incoherent. There's no definition of non-binary that can be explained without like extremely sexist stereotypes of what it means to be a man
Yeah.
and a woman. I just think a non-binary person should really just be, oh, okay, a not super feminine female. That should be fine, right? Or that likes short hair or whatever. But I take umbrage with two things. One is the conflation of that with our immutable characteristics and identities. And secondly, just I have to laugh at the Mexican government's priorities. Let me just read to
Yeah.
you. So I found this. This is a list of the top 10 most dangerous cities in the world with their murder rates. Five of them are in Mexico. Five. And this is a country basically run by cartels at this point, where people are getting shot, yet their government is working on X options for passports. I mean, that's
You
beyond
can't even
parody.
drink the water. You can't even drink the water in Mexico. Like that's the very known thing that you just don't drink the water and they're on that. It's like, wow, priorities are wild. And even if we get to a point where like we discuss non-binary rights and all that shit, it's like, can the LGBT people come before any of that other shit? Because we've been here and like y'all invented this in 2014, right? And that is like a huge problem, by the way, is that this wasn't a thing before 2014, whereas people like you and me have existed throughout generations, throughout history, throughout civilizations that were isolated from each other, right? Obviously, the concept of someone who has done this to themselves in terms of like what I've done physically is new because technology. However, like people, lefties do have a point when they point to ancient civilizations where people sort of like lived as the other gender, and like, yeah, it's always been a thing. But this new shit is so political that it has nothing to do with that. And I don't like the idea that our existence is inherently political, you know? I'm okay with the issues surrounding us being, you know, treated political, but I hate that now I feel like I'm like a walking, talking political billboard when I know that you probably feel the same way. I mean, there's so much more to us. There's just so much more.